Pappas, Pappas. Yeah. When you all tucked up in the day been long, and the news online going on and on, what's right and wrong, and it's something up. Now here comes a great kid you know you can trust. From the true who's who, to the news and cameras, to the fake politics and the propaganda. Yeah, this kid screwed in, got a lot to say. Aw, shit, it's about to be a long day. It's a long day.
Greetings, American citizens and citizens of other countries and non-documented migrants in all countries that are preferable to the one that you fled from around the world. Those of whom can make their way to digital cafes or are able to afford an iPhone or iPad or a computer of their very own to digest this content where I issue edicts. I don't do the news because I'm in a backwards Yankee hat. I interpret the news based on my own opinions. These are not to be disseminated to your children and offspring, of which we do not have enough of, that are pale, according to Elon Musk and those who are in his coterie of friends who have established fertility clinics for people who want to do something in vitro, which usually means middle to upper class white people who wanted to put their careers first and enjoyed going to beer festivals and whatnot and going to bars and sort of hopping around and living a period of extended youth, enjoying the spoils that we have created on the backs of our parents, grandparents, and robots. So everyone's slowed down. Nobody has been in a rush to create a new generation to replace them because it's just been too much fun getting Postmates. It's been just too much fun playing video games and chasing tail of the other gender or same gender, depending on what you like, on Raya or Grindr, or if you're poor, the free one. Whichever then was called. I love how even dating sites are based on class. The Indians got that right. India got that right. We do have a de facto class system no matter which way you cut the pie. Rich people want to be around rich people. You want to know where I've seen the least racism in my life? Amongst cool rich people. They don't care. The ones that take in O.J. Simpson as one of their own. They don't care. I've seen the most racism, not coincidentally, amongst the poors and the middle. But the middle is always open for a deal to become rich or claim they're poorer to get a benefit that they really want to get because they can't afford a treatment, usually medical. And that's really what sums up our society. Our healthcare system makes you want to be poor or makes you want to be rich. So it's no surprise to me that we've had a disappearing middle class. Some of that might have been by design. Some of that might have been by free will choice to be like, you know what? I'm quitting my job right now because I have cancer. Good move. If you can't get a raise, if you get cancer and you can't get a raise, quit your job. So then you will be able to afford your cancer treatment paid for by Bernie's state, which you're going to need. I'm just giving you not policy advice. I'm giving you personal life advice, experiences you may have. You get cancer, guess what? Go on government assistance. I'll tell you that right now. Our healthcare system encourages us to either be like filthy rich, like a content creator on TikTok, and that's about it, or just like really poor. You want to be like, you know, getting kicked out of your apartment because you can't afford the rent anymore if you have cancer. You will be taken care of. So if the healthcare system is set up to fuck you, the middle class, I assume everything else has followed suit and has given a huge middle finger to the middle class. And that's America at present. You know, so I'm not sure if bringing more people into this experiment is what we need, but if Armageddon happens, it's what we're going to need. It's what we're going to need. And Now I think we know a little bit more about Elon Musk's worldview. I think you would mix my worldview with someone who should be on a high dose of Zoloft. If you take a person who needs to be on a high dose of Zoloft, but who is not, because to keep the analogy rolling, they can't afford it because they're in the middle class and they don't have benefits. They're in the middle class and they're an independent contractor. So their Obamacare is too expensive, so they're going without it because they've decided that the tax penalty they pay for not having it is less than the amount it would cost to have it. And they say, you know what? I'm just going to do oregano pills and I'm not going to eat cheese and I'm going to have sushi every night and just cross my fingers. But they have clinical depression and they should be on Zoloft because the chemicals just ain't firing. If you mix that person's worldview with my worldview, I think it equals Elon Musk's worldview, which is that Armageddon is happening, and if you're smart, you need to DM women on Instagram and offer your sperm to them. That's his worldview. I don't think he's selfish or egomaniacal in the way that, someone who's really, in the way that like a psychopathic serial killer who's on death row would be egomaniacal. You ever talk to those people when they're like, this has to be done, they just got an answer for everything? I don't think he's at that level. I think you'd call him egomaniacal in the same way that Charles Manson was. More of a cult leader, more of like a believer, more in like or who's the guy at David Koresh, without the violence. But we do see a similar polygamy theme going on here. We also see a similar kind of community / cult kind of theme where he envisions all the women who he's reproduced with living in a community, a compound. I think he referred to it as a compound. Probably to control their rearing because he just wants more smart people having kids. And I think he views himself as a very smart person, which I think undoubtedly he is. But as they say, genius comes with a little mania. It comes with a little mental issue, I guess. Now, this is all alleged. This is just from an article that the Wall Street Journal has been working on for 3 years. And I think they got their juicy tidbit that they were looking for when a conservative influencer who is, I've never seen a person who is smoking hot from the front and then looks like the Count from Sesame Street from the side. She's got what you call a stereotypical Jewish nose. She's got what you call a beak. She's got what you call a German caricature of a Jew nose, unfortunately, from the 1940s. Her nose looks like it was created by Jim Henson, like a Muppet, if you see her from the profile. But from the front, she's smoking hot. So I can only imagine her profile pic when she started communicating with Elon Musk was from the front. They met at some place and he was joking with her about having his kids. And then she told him she was ovulating. And he said, so what are we waiting for? So his goal was to make a baby with her. I think this part is not alleged. This is true. And I think there's a paper trail of this that, he wanted to have babies. And I think he's texted her the reason why. And what was also true, there's another conservative influencer, some crypto chick named Fong, who I assume she's Asian, and he DM'd her. He started following her and liking her stuff. And this guy needs to go to Sexaholics Anonymous because I think sexaholics have a problem with the gram too. You know, they just hop into the DMs. The kid was sliding into DMs, so he slid into Fong's DM. And he said he wants to make a baby with her. Or no, he offered her his sperm. So he just said, you want my sperm? Like, because I think he sends his sperm out. So what people are implying from that is perhaps maybe there's more Musk babies out there in the world because he asks these women to sign NDAs, non-disclosure agreements or whatever. And then he pays them a large sum of money to raise the kids. So not really, it's ironic because he is now involved in the party that advocates for conservative, traditional nuclear family values. And this is about the fucking most progressive, post-apocalyptic, no, that's not the right word, most progressive, non-traditional form of reproduction I've ever heard of. I don't know if there's anything more non-traditional than sending your sperm to a chick you DM'd on Instagram. That seems to be, that would be like a nightmare scenario that you might hear in Joel Osteen Church about what's going on in the world. You know? I don't think that involves a father being around. I don't think that involves too much thought in having a strong role model in the house. Nevertheless, I would assume that he's being applauded and she's being called probably a gold-digging hoe because he offered her $15 million with $100,000 paternity, whatever, payments. Is that what they're called? Child support payments a month if she just kept quiet. And for what he claimed is the protection of the child. And when she didn't, went to court, and I think she ended up getting $20,000 a month. So she lost a lot of money. So hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. And, she lost a lot of money, but now she's the main focus of this article. But she's not the only one. Grimes, Elon Musk was in the White House with one of his kids with Grimes, and Grimes was upset, saying, why are you putting him in the public spotlight? I thought this whole thing, all this money I get was about keeping them private. And he goes, yeah, I'm a hypocrite. What do you want from me? And then she also famously or infamously, however you want to put it, tweeted at him on X, which if you see the way he tweets, that's probably the best way to reach him. Is probably tweeting at him on X. She tweeted that she needed money for their son's medical condition. And she tweeted that out. So this is sort of a world that my parents or grandparents could not have conceived of, let alone the Native Americans. But here we are, where you can send your sperm to someone after you DM them. He never even met Fong. He's never even met her in person, and he's just offering her a cup of his juice in order to make another post-apocalyptic baby that will survive the coming apocalypse. And so that's the reason why he wants to go to Mars so desperately. That's what is motivating him. That's what been motivating him for all of what he does, is because he believes the apocalypse is coming. He believes probably countries are going to blow each other up. And he believes, but before that, he believes that and he hasn't made this a secret, that a country's population is the most important thing. Countries are not geography. They're the people in it. And he believes that America in particular and other countries have too low populations. For the future, we need more people. That's just his view. That's just his view. I think he probably spends a little too much time in remote places because he's so famous he has to stay away. I don't think he's been in Midtown Manhattan before they did the surge pricing policy. Nobody's ever sitting in a car at 4:45 p.m. in Manhattan going, you know what, we need more people. You know? But I could conceive of if you're like at some fucking secret ranch in Montana, you're probably looking around going like, we need more people. I don't think anyone in Tokyo is going, you know what we need is another couple mil. I don't think anyone in Shanghai is going like, you know what? There's not enough people around. But he believes that we need more people. And he has expressed concern that the third world's populations are more, that they just keep reproducing because of Catholicism, probably, and Islam. And that people, I guess, who are educated and not very religious aren't having as many kids. Or another way you can say that, if you want to turn the cameras off, the way he says it at parties when there's no cameras on, because they were checked at the door, like a Dave Chappelle comedy show, is there's not enough white babies. Which is the thought in his head when it comes out as... Now, granted, yeah, that seems to be the case. I mean, you know, you look at Scandinavia, you look at Europe. I think that's why immigration, you know, they're taking so many immigrants is because white people just aren't reproducing at the rate that they used to. That's true. Because, you know, we're living in a period of extended youth and nobody wants to grow up and sacrifice their lives and the attention of where they're putting their thoughts and lives to other people before the age of 35 for women, and for men, 62. And that is true. I didn't have my children until I was well into my 40s. And the reason was that. The reason was like, hey, man, I'm not grown up yet. I still want to have beers. I still want to have fun. And I don't want to, you know, babysit all day. I don't want to be responsible for someone else's life. This is all about me, 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 me. It feels too good. Now we've gorged ourselves with that, and I think people are having kids because they want meaning in their life now, which is going to be another fucking therapist. Just become a therapist, because that industry is booming. It's booming right now. So we're going to need a lot of therapists, because that's an equally selfish reason, I think, to have a child, is to just go, I need some meaning in my life. It's still about you. Unfortunately, the Chinese are the new empire. So I'm not saying this because I like it. I'm saying this because I'm a realist, all right? Because in China, it's not all about them. They are a country that's all about the glory of China, and they're thinking about China in 30 years. Who the fuck in this country is thinking about America even tomorrow? We're thinking about the stock market today. I'm thinking about what I'm going to have for lunch in an hour, and I want it to be big, and I want it to be decadent. I want more than I need. I'm American. I want more than I need by a lot. We're not even thinking about the guys. Well, we don't even know the neighbor. When I lived in an apartment building, I knew less people than I do now. We have no sense of community. We have no sense of combined purpose. These people over here, you know, they want to watch jujitsu. These people over here want to watch football. I mean, these people over here want to watch RuPaul's Drag Race. We're free. In China, they are not free to like anything except the glory of China, based on a chip on their shoulder where they have been bullied. They're basically a bully who ain't taking it no more. They don't like the humiliation that they faced at the hands of the British and the West and the Japanese prior to what they thought was a very proud string of dynasties where eunuchs were aplenty and their mouths were serviceable. They don't like the Opium Wars. They don't like the consequences. They don't like everything. And the Opium Wars was not that long ago. The Opium Wars was 1839 to 40 something, maybe 42 or 3 or something like that. And then you had another Opium Wars around 1850 something, right? Not that long ago. To them, that's like slavery. And they're mad at the West like black people are mad at whites. It doesn't go away that easily. There's anger there. And so their whole modus operandi can be summed up as revenge. So they're not going to bend to Trump. In fact, they're going to do the opposite because of their pride. And they're able to keep it all together with authoritarianism And we're trying right now to keep up with all these despots, right? We got Putin, you got Zelensky, you got Z. So we put in Trump because he's talking strong. He's talking a strong game. He's a 79-year-old man who's talking a strong game. And Winnie the Pooh Bear's just looking back at him and going, we are ready for this war. We've been expecting it and preparing for it for the last 29, 30 years. So let's fence. Put your mask on. Let's fence. And I think now we're up to everything's just comical. We're up to a 245% retaliation tariff on China because of their retaliation tariffs. So now it's comical. We're up to 245% on China. And China is just cutting deals with other countries. No more American beef, which was a big buyer of American beef was China. And China just goes, we're banning American beef. And they just immediately cut a deal with Australia. And we're looking at Australia going, hey, what the fuck? What the fuck, man? We're friends. What are you doing? And Australia's going, hey, mate, you said fuck you to me too. And Trump's going, ooh, whoops. I forgot about that. I forgot about the fact that I pissed off every country that I was hoping was going to side with me in this war against China. And now Canada is cutting a deal with China for their oil. And Trump's going, hey, man, what the fuck are you doing? You're supposed to be our ally. And they're like, weren't you just calling us the 51st state like 2 months ago? Fuck you. So the world is saying fuck you to Trump. And they're falling right into China's hands. And I don't think you can overstate how much this may have to do with the particular personality of one individual. Am I wrong? I don't know. I'm just guessing. I'm throwing things out there. You decide. That's the best part about this show is you decide. And then you can watch this show and, typically, I think with me, what you got to do is wait 6 months, a year, and you'll see. Was he right? Was he wrong? I don't know. Was his insights? What are his insights? What are they? It doesn't matter because I'm going to make my official position known on what we're going to talk about instead. And that's Israel. The most important thing to be discussed right now is Israel and the way they're handling Hamas. That's the thing that's most important to our national security, not Qatar and the fact that they have spent upwards of 250. I'm sorry. That was a section of what they're paying. I think if I remember correctly, it was $6 billion lobbying the U.S. government and funding universities, which, just so you know, is more than a heat pack, which does not contribute in that same way to institutions, but simply puts all their efforts towards policy and politicians. Both pretty bad. Lobby groups, I think, what the fuck is lobby groups? They should be banned. Lobby groups should be fucking banned. But it's worth noting that Qatar is very pro-Palestinian, very pro-Muslim, and they've spent a lot of money blackmailing our institutions. some of which are the finest in the country. University of Chicago, Texas A&M, Harvard, there was a list that I read off before. Google it. You see a lot of pro-Palestine protests at universities. These are things that make you go, Where there's a Batman, there's a Joker. You decide which one's the Joker, which one's the Batman. Is it the Qatar lobby group or is it the Israeli lobby group? Which one? I don't know. I'm not here to tell you which one, but I'm telling you there's two. Qatar has emerged as a central mediator in the United States' attempt to reach hostage deals between Israel and Hamas. These are things that make you go, or if you're deaf, I don't want to leave them out. You don't want to leave out the unheard or the unspeakable. What are they, if they're, I don't know, able-bodied, able-sighted, able-talking? I don't want to leave anyone out. So these are interesting things, but I do know that it's most important, and people are tuning into the show right now in small numbers, admittedly small numbers, to see my position on Israel-Palestine. You want me to offer it? Here it is. Because it's taken over X. Because Douglas Murray and Dave Smith. Douglas Murray, I think he's a journalist. He writes books. And Dave Smith from the Legion of Skanks and is a comedian and a friend of mine. And they're discussing Israel in Austin on Joe Rogan's podcast. And it depends on your feed. One feed says Dave Smith won, and the other feed says Douglas Murray won. And those two feeds and the accounts that are, tweeting about which side, coincidentally, happen to agree before the debate with those sides. So nobody's minds were changed. So I'd like to say, if you think Dave Smith won the debate on on the side of the Palestinians, and if you believe Douglas Murray won the debate on the side of the Israelis, congratulations. You both think your side is right. Now I think you know what it's like to be Israelis and Palestinians. I think that's what's accomplished, is that debate turned more people into Israelis and Palestinians. That's all it did, was create more of the same. So here's my position on Israel-Palestine. I think Hamas should stop the murder, and I think Israel should stop the murder more because of math. Now I want my sticker. I want my sticker, and I want my star of the day for my act of kindness, which is what we do for our daughter. I hope the sarcasm was detected. My point being, I'm not sure if you can just solve that issue with morality. I'm not sure, by quantifying death tolls. I'm not sure you can't solve that problem without taking into account the full context dating back to the first Kingdom of David. I just don't think you can solve that problem without looking at every other problem that's happened in the history of the world and seeing a similar dynamic and saying, hey, this is unfortunately the same as every conflict we've ever had in the history of the world. The only thing different about this conflict is that Palestinians stayed. Jordan doesn't want them. Egypt doesn't want them. They want to stay where they've been living for generations, maybe thousands of years, some of them. They don't want to be moved. And there is a massive financial push from surrounding Islamic kingdoms to keep them there because they like them there. And so who suffers? They do. Because realistically, Israel ain't going nowhere. It just is, It's unfortunate. You got to look at one side and go, hey, yeah, these were the conquerors who first showed up and started buying land from de facto Ottoman landlords. But nobody had any problem with the de facto Ottoman landlords as if they didn't come and conquer that land as well. Just because they were Muslim, even though they weren't Arab, they were Turkic people. Nobody has a problem with their conquering. And they had that for about 400 years. And then also the Arabs are not indigenous to Palestine. They ended up there through the Muslim expansions. So the land has had waves and waves of conquerors. Even when the Jews first got there, they had to, they had to negotiate. They had to negotiate with the people who were there, which are Canaanites. And there was another group. And those people are gone. Those people are the true Native Americans of that land, if you will. And their DNA can be found in the people who conquered them. And they can be found in the ground. You can find their bones. And after that, the first people there who set up something there was the Jews. And then the Romans came in and said, we're going to run this area. And the Jews got frisky, like the Frisbees do. And that's what started it. But the Jews, because of their religion, said, we're going back. We're always going to go back. We're going back. It's Israel or bust. You know, you want to go over here? What was the other one? You want to go to fucking Greenland, or you want to go someplace in Africa was offered? And they were like, no. We're going back to this place, which admittedly was a shithole when they got there. In fact, the first Jews were like settled in like malaria areas. So it's a very complicated issue that I think is impossible to litigate. I don't think there's a diplomatic solution. I just don't see one. You know, I just don't see those two people living in peace side by side. So that's my position on it. I am giving up hope. Giving up hope. And that's all there is to it. You could say this about who's funding who and who's funding that and blah, blah, blah. You could say it's wrong for America to fund them, but then how come is it not wrong for Iran to fund Hamas? I mean, it's all, you know, everyone's funding everybody. How come it's not wrong for Qatar to fund them? I mean, they're getting funding. They're getting funding. They get funding as well. It just so happens that the funding that Israel gets is much more advanced. So it's really not a moral question. It's a question of math. So if you think more is worse, then you're right, I guess. I don't know. I guess you're right. If more death is worse than some death because the capabilities of one is more, then I guess you're right. But if you tell me that you don't think if they had the capability, they wouldn't do the same thing, then, you know, we're just at an impasse. We're just at an impasse because I personally just don't believe that to be true. I believe if there was an advantage on the other side, then those Jews would be in trouble. That's what I believe. Apparently, that's what Israel believes as well. I don't think Israel believes that if they just had like, hey, let's give you, like, I don't think they think that the surrounding Arab world would be okay. I just don't know. But who am I to say? I mean, you know, they were kicked out of all the other countries and had to go to Israel. So they have that insight and they go, we don't trust them. And it's not just the Palestinians. They go, we don't trust Muslims. We don't trust Arabs because they're all kind of unified in that way. So it's their business, and I don't want to get into it. But I did get sidetracked by it because I know it's the most important issue for us to really focus on right now with these trade talks and a hot money war and an ongoing actual war in Ukraine and Russia and what's happening right now. Because right now there's either a new balance of power happening, there's either a new empire emerging, or one that was about to emerge that's being Tanya Hardinged. We're trying to Tanya Harding Nancy Kerrigan. China is Nancy Kerrigan. We are Tanya Harding. So we're slapping tariffs on them to try to get them from becoming what they're set out to become and what we fear they will become, which is the world's most dominant economic power. And it seems like if you were on DraftKings and you took a look at the two societies and you took morality out of it and your preconceived biases on what a government should be and what an economic system should be, jettison those for a second and just look at the facts and the education systems and the current state of their societies. Again, take out morality, whatever you feel about surveillance, whatever you feel about authoritarianism, whatever you feel about democracy, whatever you feel about capitalism, whatever you unfettered capitalism, you know, freedoms, personal liberties, take that out of the equation. If you just saw the facts, what would you say is about to happen in the world? Would you say that China is rising and America's falling and we're just right here and one is scrambling and throwing a fit and trying to, because they're upset like Tanya Harding? Does that sound more accurate? Because to me, it does. I have to admit, to me, it does. When I look at the facts, that the average American reading level is considered to be around the 7th, 8th grade reading level. When I look at who the cultural icons are in our art scene, I see a lot of media personalities and not a lot of artists. I don't feel a lot. I feel like I'm being marketed to by people who have a grasp of algorithms and drama and negativity biases and clickbait, but not too much art. In our music, comedy, drama. I mean, a good show's like, everyone knows what the good shows are. There's like 3 or 4 of them. You know? You watch White Lotus, you watch Lioness, which is typically American, but it's exciting in that explosive type of way. You watch Severance, you watch, which a lot of people say is bad, and then you watch the one about the Murdoch family. Which one's that? The Murdoch family. The one...
Succession.
You watch Succession, and then we haven't had a good one since Breaking Bad and The Sopranos. Certain people say we love this, but you know, it's about 4, 5, 10 shows, maybe tops. And that's worth noting because we have a gazillion media outlets and platforms, and everyone's just watching Riffer's podcast. The political commentary has become more entertaining than actual entertainment. So that means you got a bunch of sophists just bullshitting out there. And that's our society right now. Watching people dance for 60 seconds at a time or listening to someone fucking give you a harangue on some geopolitical issue from the safety of their house. You know? MrBeast is out there doing charity work, but God knows what his basement looks like to balance him out. If you don't think there is some drinking of baby blood going on in MrBeast's basement, because I am not from this new school where I believe shit. I am from a New York City where I always know that there's a scam going on. I always know when it's too good to be true, it's not. Okay? I just know that. So the kid is going to Africa. He's funding all these educations. Whenever anyone's such a do-gooder, it's because they're trying to distract from the fact of who they really are. Because nobody's that good. And if I turn out to be wrong and he's not Jared Vogel or Fogel, if he turns out not to be Jared Fogel, I will issue an apology. But I'm pretty sure if this podcast gets big, he'll have me murdered for this segment. I just don't know. He's just got the vibe and the face of someone who's got baby blood on tap. And that's all I'm going to say. He makes the amount of money where you would expect that an ordinary relationship and a staring at the sunset with a fiance is just not going to cut it. Going to share a brew or a root beer at a diner is just not going to cut it. Having a girl say, I love you, and I always think about you, is just not going to be enough for that contrived smile and those dead eyes. Do you see it like I see it? There is nothing behind those eyes and that smile. He is a conqueror. So that's what I see. That's what I see, and that's where I'd put my money. I would put my money on China. They're more motivated. They're more educated, and it's their time. And there's an old expression, nothing is more powerful than an idea's time to come, or something like I'm chopping it up. You know? And just to hammer home my point with a mallet, America's reading level is 7th to 8th grade. 8th grade being it's rounding up. It's when someone who's 5'11 and 3/4 calls himself 6 feet, which is what I do. I'm 5'11 and 3/4 to be exact. But I call myself 6 foot and an Air Max 6.5. So that's charitable, saying we're at an 8th grade reading level. You've been around. You know what it is. Do you know what China's literacy rate is? And this was just 30 years. Just in 30 years. You're talking about a mostly illiterate society like 50 years ago. And in that 50 years, they have now churned out the astounding number of, I can't even look at this without going like, we need to just wave the white flag here. We just need to say, we're going to work with you. All empires recede, man. There was an old expression the sun never set on the British Empire. At one point, they were everywhere, and then they just had to recede back to their fucking island. Okay? We got bases and shit everywhere. It's time for us to just kind of recede back and just, it's different now because we can work with China. We can work with all these things, but it ain't so bad being number two. How about instead of going like mutually exclusive awards, why don't we do more Olympic rules where there's a gold, a silver, and a bronze? So we can feel good about a silver. And I'm not saying this is happening today or tomorrow, but it is happening in 5 years, 10 years, maybe. Because China's literacy rate in the previously mentioned 30 to 50 year period has risen to 97 point something percent. That means their entire population. It's tough. It's tough. And they have one of the highest in the world. And it's increasing. So it's tough. Because like Aristotle said, the future of your civilization depends on the education of the population. So that's your tip-off. That's your big tip. That's your tip-off. So I recommend something that you're not going to hear from your favorite pundits, journalists, and comedians. I recommend teaching your children Mandarin. That's what I recommend. Without shame. It's just, I recommend that you do that. I recommend you learn Mandarin. I've already started, okay? I'm starting to read the menu. You know how there's the English? They tell you what it is, General Tso's chicken, but on top is in Mandarin. I'm trying to read what's at the top. I want to know Mandarin. Because, dude, the Romance language European era was a fucking long and good one. It's not just America. You got to think. People go, oh, America's only a couple hundred years old. Yeah, but there is no American empire without European immigration. It's basically a continuation of European dominance that is coming to an end. So can you go back to that, to the praise thee? And we want to teach the people how to say that. So listen up and listen good. Listen up and listen good to how you say praise thee. And learn it. Make a meme out of this.
赞美11
One more time for me.
赞美11
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 赞美11赞美11 That's it. That's all you got to do. From here on in. I'm a stupid American. This is the thing you say next.
我是一个愚蠢的美国人。
And that's all you have to
我
do.
是一个愚蠢的美国人。
Okay? Because that's just what it is. They don't need immigrants. They don't need the things that we need. They don't need to import their geniuses. They're all homegrown. They're not asking for South Asia to send them their best Indian geniuses. They're not asking for us to send us to send them our best American geniuses. They go, we're fine. And that's what Z is saying now, is we're fine. We're
我是
fine.
一个愚蠢的美国人。
Yes, I'm a stupid American. And I just want you to know that I am actually a stupid American. And I am engaged in the economy that we currently have because of your emerging dominance. And that is a podcast. It's a podcast because now I have to share the thing that I've been training at for 20 years with people who got huge on your platform. Do it again. Praise Z.
我是一个愚蠢的美国人。
You have gutted our culture with your social media platforms. And now I have to share my art form with people. You're
赞美诗
going to have to cackle that. Just use a cackle.
赞美诗
There's not the amount of free weekends for me to do stand-up comedy, which I'm proficient in. I'm proficient in that. Has to be shared with people who will have their fan base show up, and the owners of those clubs have to capitulate because they need to stay in business. So the skill level and the art of comedy is currently unknown.
你能给我钱吗？
Can you give me money?
你能给我钱吗？
Please give me money. Send me money because, as you can see, I have capitulated. I am capitulating. I see the cultural winds blowing. I know what they mean. I see how people react on the internet, and I know your master plan full of bots and fake accounts and TikTok and other surreptitious ways and methods, ways and means, have created this moment, are culminating in this moment, and I bow down to your acceptance of how war is waged now, economically, culturally, socially, and I say, you are going to win.
赞美诗
I see it. I see it. I see it happening. And the only hope we have is that people over there get so spoiled that they also don't want to grow up. But then you'll force them. You know, that's our only hope, is that we spoil them the way we're spoiled. It's the only way, because we're not motivated in the same way. Nobody's motivated by the glory of America. The only people who are motivated by the glory of America are like a small group of like fucking military guys in Texas. And I would say that it's just not enough. Everybody else just, dude, they just want five guys. They just want five guys. They want a good smash burger with American fake cheese. And that's what they want. And they want their bracket filled out. They want to toss a little juice over at DraftKings. And they want to get monetized by advertisers, some of whom may be untoward, but still the check's cash, right? That's where we're at. So I understand the desperation. I understand it was time for a drastic move to try to stop this from happening. But unfortunately, I feel like we're going to learn it's not going to work. Unfortunately. I hope it does. But if I'm putting my money on it, like I said, which doesn't mean I know or doesn't mean I believe it's going to happen. But you know how money is reality? If you were going to put your money, ask yourself right now, would you put your money on America or China? I'm asking you, Jesse, if you had to.
Oh, man.
If you had to put your money, your personal money, who do you think's going to win this trade war? Who's going to suffer more?
Look, I hope it's us. I really do.
I said, I already admitted I hope. But if you had to put your money.
It's hard to bet with your heart. I mean, I never bet on the New York Giants because I can't stand losing. But
not with your heart, but with your head.
Yeah, I'm looking on Kalshi now to see.
Yeah. Let's see what Kalshi's got to say about that. How high will inflation level get in 2025? At least, okay, let's go.
No, they don't have it. Who will win the trade war?
Yeah. Who will win the trade war, U.S. or China? Let's see what Kalshi says. They don't have it.
Don't have it.
They don't have it because they don't want to break the morale of the people. So I know maybe a lot of this stuff is over your head, beneath your head, or you want to yell a bunch of stuff from your heart. I get it. So do I. So do I. I want to yell a bunch of stuff from my heart, and I want to comment in my own comment section. I want to comment and say, fuck you, man. You're underestimating the red, white, and blue. I want to. My heart says I want to. But I also wanted the New York Knicks to win against the Bulls when I was a kid. I also wanted the Giants to make the playoffs. It didn't happen. And it's not a coincidence that I'm asking you in monetary in the context of money. It's not a coincidence that I'm asking you this question because my point is the biggest tool we have towards world peace, or at least a detente, or at least cooperation, is trade. That's it. The only thing we had in common with China and appeasing each other was trade. So this has me worried, as it's typically a precursor for much worse shit. And it doesn't seem like Donnie T's backing off. And it doesn't seem like Z will. And neither one can take an off-ramp now. This feels kind of like the Cuban Missile Crisis in a way that both JFK and Khrushchev at the time were boisterous in the media, about not backing down, but they had some really serious back channel negotiations that really saved the world. There's a great book called The Crisis Years by Mark Beschloss that details that. If you're interested, it's really about how the world was saved with back channel negotiations. And hopefully Donnie T and Z have a burner fucking phone. And they're talking, going, look, this is the shit that got me elected, but I realize this ain't going to work. And Z's gone like, yeah, let's change it. I'm willing to change it. And Donald Trump goes, look, I'm not even care. I just want a silver medal at this point. So we know what's happening. He doesn't have to admit that, but he's got to feel in a way that I don't know if we can compete going forward. We can compete right now. This is sort of like the last stand where we can compete right now, and that's why we're trying this. But they're just prepared to suffer more than we are, and what's going to happen as a result of this is suffering. Make zero mistake about that. For years to come. I don't think we're going to be able to adapt as quickly as they will be able to adapt because we pissed off the whole world. So that didn't help. That didn't help that he was yelling at Canada and Mexico and Australia and everybody. The only one who's going, yeah, boss, is Israel, right? Because they have a current situation where it behooves them to go, yeah, boss. But Israel always does that. Israel always goes, yeah, boss, and then they blow up one of our ships. And they fucking spy on our government. Do you remember when they blew up one of our ships?
Who?
Israel. They blew up a U.S. military ship, and they said it was an accident. But we're not sure if it was an accident because it might not have been. Shit happens. So Israel just always goes, yeah, boss, and then just does what Israel wants. So I don't feel great about that. What are you pulling up?
We got El Salvador.
We got El Salvador. We got Argentina, so we can dock our chainsaws. We can dock our chainsaws like a gay couple. We can dock our chainsaws, and that's about it. Want to give a small shout out to forthefree.art, music in Hawaii. Check out their shows, local artists, bands, forthefree.art. Also, want to give a shout out to IndigoLabsAgency.com, Nate Linder. Check him out, social media managing. It's a marketing agency. He'll get you new customer acquisition, not just clicks, and monetize, baby. Rebels-Raiders.com. Go check them out. Plate carriers, medical bags, rifles, slings. This is the guy you really, after listening to this episode, you really want to check out rebels-raiders.com because maybe Elon Musk is right. Suds Auto Spa, Bridgeville, south of Pittsburgh. Hit him up, 412-564-5033. Info@sudsautospa.com for car capsule units, storage solutions, ceramic painting, paint protection, all the shit for your car. They will travel. The bigger the job, the farther they will travel. And of course, PCB Tech Art. Go get yourself the power nest for your car because your phone shouldn't play hide and seek with your car's charger. And also the power sphere, which makes your car smell good. It's very cool. Also, you got a design idea, they'll do it for you. So hit up PCBTechArt.com, Yannis 10 for a 10% discount.